Thank you, everyone. Thank you all. Thank you, Charlene, Joanna, for the invitation. I've got 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to go through the slides that I've prepared for this short talk. I want to start by just giving you a little bit of context of sort of three concepts that are all going to be at play during this talk. The first one is Deming's very famous quote in terms of an improvement method, which we are following in Sac City and did so in Fresno Unified, which is that every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. The second one is our core value statement in Sac City, and I'll give you just about 10 seconds to read it. So it's this idea that our system is created inequitably. And therefore, the results that we're getting are perfectly designed to be produced by that system. So it's this idea that our system is created inequitably. And therefore, the results that we're getting are perfectly designed to be produced by that system. And is the way in which we effectively believe that we can bring together K-12 and higher education. I'll just say in full disclosure, I have a 5% appointment at the University of California, Merced as well. So my career has been between higher ed and K-12. Okay, so obviously, I mean, this is not new to you. Our current reality, especially in California, I'm in Sacramento, it's the capital of the state. I spend a lot of time at the California Department of Education. And one fundamental challenge that we face, I believe, in trying to do this work is that neither K-12 nor higher ed are incentivized to work together. Our accountability system in California only focuses on K-12 metrics. We don't have an accountability system for higher ed, except that we're funded based on FTE. So the idea of working with one another is based on goodwill. The idea that at the moment, I get along very well with the chancellor at UC Merced, because I have an appointment there. The chancellor at UC Davis started on July 1 when I started, so we get along just because we're new at this. The president of CSU Sacramento is very committed to the needs of our most disenfranchised youth. And our chancellor at our community college system is very committed to this work. So on the basis of goodwill, we're advancing a lot of the work that I'm going to share with you today, but I'm also very cognizant that you can't scale goodwill. Goodwill is not scalable. And that is why we face these challenges of working with one another. And as you know, in the education circles, we don't all get along. And so the very next president or chancellor may be somebody that I worked with 20 years ago that I just don't like, or doesn't like me. And all of this work just goes. Go ahead. So we define our equity, access, and social justice work, and I just came from Chicago where Tim Schreiber was National Convening on Social and Emotional Learning, and he said at a roundtable with superintendents that there's a lot of talk around equity, but very little action. Ryan Smith, my colleague at Ed Trust West, says that equity is the new coconut water. Everybody is talking and drinking it, but very few know what it actually means. So over the next few 17 or 16 minutes that I have, I want to share how we have actualized a vision around equity, access, and social justice in Sac City. So if the guiding principle talks about three themes: equal opportunity to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options, this is the first component of that guiding principle, and we're not where we need to be. Our graduation rates in Sac City are below the county-wide rate in Sacramento and below the statewide rate in Sacramento. This is the second component, that students have the greatest number of post-secondary choices In California, we still operate under a litmus test for college preparatory requirements called A to G requirements. It's a sequence of 15 college preparatory courses that are required by the University of California and the California State University system, and you can see that we're far from where we need to be. So 85% of our students are graduating, and only 35% are completing that course sequence of 15 courses. So our guiding principle is not coming to life for the vast majority of our students. And then the third component is from the widest array of options, and I apologize that you can't see this, but this shows the disproportionality of the students that are completing A to G, and it shows that our African American students, their completion rate is only 9.56%. So fewer than 10% of our African American youth are completing the college prep course sequence. And among our white students, it's 20%, which is actually the population of students that we have who are white. So African American youth in Sac City, I'm very blessed and privileged to say that Sacramento still is one of the last urban school districts with a high percentage of African American youth. 20% of our youth are African American. Go ahead. If you follow Sacramento at all, about a month and a half ago, we had this huge controversy as a result of a student who wrote a science project hypothesizing that the racial IQs of blacks and Southeast Asian students were lower than whites, which is why our specialty programs, we have three very competitive specialty programs that students enter as ninth graders. And the hypothesis is that because of those racial IQ discrepancies, very few blacks and very few Southeast Asian students were enrolled in that program. And all how it produce. Community forums, the mayor, around issues of diversity, race, and equity in Sacramento. And then as you know, about a month ago, we had the Stephon Clark shooting, which also resulted in a lot of civil unrest. So I will say that equity, access, and social justice is rooted in issues of race. And one of the editorials that came out of that huge controversy by this columnist, I think put it right, which is, why is it that the focus is on diversifying these specialty programs and not looking at this as a pipeline issue? So let me demonstrate that. When we looked at the students that were eligible but didn't apply to those specialty programs, on the right-hand side, there were only 349 total eligible non-applicants to one of three specialty programs. And of the 349, there were only 22 African American students out of a class of about 500 African American students. So these are students that are more than on grade level. When we looked at 7th grade students who are meeting the same profile to be eligible a year later as 8th graders, we only had about 55 African American youth. Go ahead. And this is, if you keep going, in terms of kindergarten, 3rd, 8th, and 12th grade, you can see the distribution of grade level readiness. Where those gaps begin to play out. You can see in the red, those are significantly off grade level, and in the blue, those are significantly on grade level. So we have launched a summer school program this summer based on an opt-out philosophy. We've identified over 300 kindergarten students before 1st grade that are already demonstrating off-grade level traits. And we just sent out 4,300 letters to families saying, congratulations, we've pre-registered your child, and if you want to opt them out, you have to fill out this form and tell us why. Go ahead. So 4 years later, this work showing how very few of our African American brown students apply to anywhere but open access colleges and universities, while their white peers with the same academic profile enroll at the most selective colleges and universities. Unfortunately, in California, where we're blessed to have University of California system with 9 campuses, a CSU system with 23, fewer and fewer are still open access colleges. And so we deconstructed data and tiered each of the campuses from those 2 public education systems, looked at National Student Clearinghouse data, and found that the most competitive UC campuses for our Sac City youth were Cal and UCLA. The most competitive CSU campuses were Long Beach State, San Diego State, Fullerton, and CSU San Luis Obispo. We looked at GPA, the number of AP courses, honors courses, SAT, ACT scores, etc. And I'm sad to say that when we applied this to our current senior class, there were no African American students that met the criteria, just on data alone, to attend UCLA and UC Berkeley. Now, thankfully, because of Prop 209 affirmative action and such, the University of California has a holistic review process. So we look at essays and personal statements and such. So it doesn't mean that no African American will be admitted for the fall to those campuses, but based on data, we have no students. So at the senior year, 0 African American. At the 8th grade year for specialty programs, 22. And then you can see what happens in kindergarten. Go ahead. Now, we built some very robust database systems. This is an example of a screenshot for every one of our seniors. We built an algorithm that analyzes paper transcripts and puts it in electronic forms. So those are the A to G courses. We're able to identify which courses our students took, the grades. It calculates college prep A to G GPAs. This is the view that an admissions evaluator wants to see. So we brought that expertise into K-12, go ahead. But it also identifies, it identifies the colleges between the UC and the CSU that student, based on his or her profile, should consider applying to. This is a great case study of a student that meets that top tier of the CSU and UC campuses. And we hold our counselors accountable for demonstrating that they have informed our students of the colleges and universities that match their academic profile to offset the findings that we know nationally that Black and brown students tend to enroll in open access colleges and universities. So we're trying to address this issue of college match, but not confuse it with college fit. Right? This is an issue that happens in the fall that we don't confuse with fit. Not everybody is going to fit well at Cal or UCLA or Long Beach State or San Diego. But you don't have that choice if you don't apply. So we've sent out individualized packets to every one of our seniors saying, here's the colleges that match your profile, and you should consider applying to them. And there's been some really great pieces documented around this work that we started in Fresno Unified by Pace and others. Go ahead. This is where it all starts though. We've built a very robust framework based on continuous improvement, but it is about accountability. And so you can see that we're measuring graduation, A to G, and college-going culture. So in that little box there, you can highlight it there, Vincent, it shows that what we're looking for our principals to focus on is increasing the pool of students that are eligible for a UC or a CSU system, a campus. Right? But we're also looking at, toward the left, reducing the number of graduates that are only eligible for a community college. Right? That number should be 0. Graduates who are only eligible for a community college. So we're measuring that in real time. We're measuring what is the pool, the size of the pool of students that are eligible to apply to a UC or a CSU, is there's a match in the profile, and then we're looking at how many of those students actually apply to at least one college campus that matches their profile. Otherwise, what I've learned in higher ed is that a lot of schools can have every kid apply, and the system is recognized for having 100% application rates. And the boards love it. What I told my Board of Education is, I want you to commend me when we increase the pool of applicants who apply to a college or university that matches their profile. I don't want to confuse that metric, okay? And we also look at, keep going, matriculation rates. After students apply, we track individually what are the matriculation requirements for each one of those college campuses. And we have to demonstrate, our counselors have to demonstrate that they have worked with the student to help them fill out the FAFSA, to help them fill out their application for the dorm, to have them fill out the online orientation, to help them fill out the placement exam. Right? We want students to be able to apply to a community college, a CSU, and a UC, and a private. Unfortunately, the way higher ed functions in California, each of those has a very complex matriculation process. So a student who really wants to keep all their options available is registering for 4 placement tests. One for UC, one for CSU, one for the community college, and potentially one for the private college that they've applied to. Okay? The community college district, Sacramento State, UC Davis, and UC Merced, where we would share personally identifiable information with one another. Go ahead. And it's at this level. It's looking for every one of our segments down to what is the appropriate course placement of Sac City Unified students. Right? I want to hear multiple measures without knowing what the multiple measures are, because we own all of those measures in our student information system. So we said to our higher ed partners, we want to measure the rate at which we are accurately placing students once they go to your college system. And we want to look at remediation success rate. We want to look at persistence rate. We're looking at persistence in terms of disproportionality and closing those gaps. And we want to look at degree attainment and transfer rates. Go ahead. And this is an example of a metric. What is the number and percentage of our students who submitted a statement of intent to register to UC Merced and are placed in the appropriate courses based on placement exam results? Right? So we are in the process now of sharing data to accurately calculate how many of our students are accurately placed in a course at any one of our higher ed institutions that our students are attending. This is an example of what we did in Fresno. We looked at basically master scheduling for them. Based on the multiple measures, here's how many students should be enrolled in a transferable credit-bearing course at the community college system. What we were interested in identifying is the rate at which the college was downdrafting our youth. The rate at which they were downdrafting our youth. Go ahead. And we were able to look at how many of our students were placed one course level below the transferable credit-bearing course. And we held cycles of inquiry to say, why are so many of our youth being placed one course level before the transferable credit-bearing course when you told us that you were using these multiple measures? We ran the data and we told you that this is how many classes you needed in the transferable credit-bearing course. It was very tough conversations to have. But it's the conversations that you can have initially based on goodwill, but then you've got to systematize it, and so we built this system that we are now working with others to implement. Okay? Now this is why it's a pipeline issue. This is a snapshot of a system that we've built now that looks at the gaps that exist. If you look at the high school, for example, graduation in A to G, I told you that the graduation rate at Sac City is about 85%, but the A to G is only 36%. So why do we tolerate, right, a gap of 85 to 35%? We have an 85 graduation rate, we should have an 85% A to G completion rate. SBAC is our state standardized test score, right? So in terms of early warning system, you can see everything starts with early warning system, and then we're measuring the gaps that exist between these really important milestones: kindergarten readiness, third grade readiness, 6th to 7th grade transition, 8th to 9th grade transition, 12 to 13. Go ahead, I'm almost done. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm almost done. Very good. So these are all systems that we've built in-house because of what Paul was saying. I mean, these are very, in our local context, we have to pay attention to these things. We've now done them regionally, and it's just very exciting work to bring together K-12 and higher education in a way that when I meet with my higher ed colleagues, they know that I spent half of my career at UC Merced. And when I bring in my staff in K-12, right, they know that I spent half of my career in K-12. And I think I know a little bit of what they're going to say in terms of pushing back, right? But this idea that we build a system that has to produce different results is what's driving our work. So with that, I'll turn over to